Welcome to The Random Show. Inside knowledge on TV, pop culture, and game shows with the executive producer of Let's Make a Deal and The Price is Right, Mike Richards. Joined by me, Beth Trippin, the shortest moral compass on podcasts, according to Mike. And now, The Random Show.
Here it comes. It's the podcast. It's The Random Show. Welcome to The Random Show.
Ooh.
I'm Mike Richards.
Hi, I'm Beth.
Ooh.
Just Beth.
Just Beth. Oh, are you going for like the Cher?
Yeah, just Beth.
Just Beyonce?
I'm trying to show the world what an awesome name Beth is.
You keep going, girl.
Okay.
And Beth is not short for anything.
Yeah, it is.
What is it?
It's Elizabeth.
Oh, it is Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was Bethany.
I know it's not Bethany.
It should be, though.
No.
A very good podcast today, Beth, as they all are, but one that I know you're particularly excited about. A special guest, a legend in the trivia games area. Ken Jennings will be on The Random Show.
I'm really excited to talk to him. I totally remember when all of his Jeopardy stuff happened, and when Jen told me he was coming, I kind of texted my parents and was like, "Oh my God, Ken Jennings!" My mom was like, "Who?" But my dad was like, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah,
oh yeah."
How long ago was that? Was that 2007 that he did?
2004.
2004. Yeah, sure. Did he go back? When did he do Watson? And then he went up against a computer. Okay, so that was 2011, and now. He's going to be on The Random Show. I think
he's an author.
He's an author. He's written many, many books. He has 2 more books coming out. Has he written 4, I think, total? I've got it right here. With our crack research staff, a.k.a. Jen Bisgrove.
Jen Bisgrove.
Yeah, he's written a bunch of books. He's a very interesting guy, and we're actually developing a show with him, which is why we have his phone number. We didn't just creep out and call him. We're actually developing a show with him. We won't talk about that much today, but I have a lot of questions for him.
I do too.
Because are you good at trivia?
Some trivia.
I see. What I am is horrible at all trivia. It doesn't even matter a specific area that maybe I should know. I don't have that kind of mind.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I think it doesn't show how smart you are or anything.
Well, that is one of my questions because in one of his books...
I've made that up. I don't know if it shows how smart you are.
No, in one of his books, he talks about, is being good at trivia a mark of intelligence? So this is from his book, Brainiac, which came out in 2007.
That's exciting.
It must be a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It must be a lot of pressure to be Ken Jennings.
Well, I would think that everyone's going to try to trip you up then.
Right. Being known for being smart would be tough because you make one mistake oh, look at this guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's such a nice guy that people probably don't come at him that hard.
I don't know. I think that I read that, there are times where people just literally come out with the trickiest question just to try to trip him up. And he's like, all right. I don't know. Stop.
I am interested to find out if he would be good at playing The Price is Right.
That is a good idea.
I'm thinking about becoming a producer. We're going to see where it goes. And we have the Beth story ever told.
Yeah, we do.
What? A little teaser?
Just another injury.
You're hurt again?
Well, but it had, yeah.
How much of this goes into your lack of athleticism just in general?
It has to do with the hazardous conditions of my play I'm rehearsing with. I'm rehearsing.
The one where you play a Ruski.
Yes.
Yes. Are you a communist in this? I know in real life you are, but are you a communist in the show?
No. No, I'm totally pro-America.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm pro-your America,
I know.
to be honest, actually.
You're pro-freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech.
Sure.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
Get the man off your back.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
I'm anti-socialist.
One of my favorite authors, Ayn Rand, was as a Russian woman.
Oh, you love The Fountainhead.
I do love The Fountainhead, but really it's Atlas
Shrugged.
is really the definitive work in the
Okay.
Ayn Rand lexicon. I'm trying to use big words.
Are you trying to be smart because Ken Jennings coming on the show?
Listen, here's the thing. Here's what I know. I know what my abilities are, and I know what my abilities aren't. And no, I'm not going to try to spar.
Well,
with Ken
I am
Jennings.
sort of nervous about him coming on and
Thinking
us
you're
just looking
stupid?
like idiots. Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably a given.
Yeah, probably.
Let's get him on the phone. Let's find out.
Okay.
On the phone with us now, literally, a trivia legend, a game show legend.
That's so true.
Ken Jennings, everyone.
Yay!
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Thunder, you hear that applause?
That's amazing. I feel so welcome.
You should. There are 3 people in this room, but we all have big hearts.
Yes, and we all
Many
clap that
times
hard.
around.
And we have fat hands. Ken, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks
We're
for being
super
on.
excited. I've been pumped all morning.
And Beth doesn't get pumped. So, Ken, I wanted to start with you and I are developing a show, and I don't want to talk about the particulars of it. But the reason that we were connected is that we've got a show idea, and we're running it by you, and you're liking it. And it's really very cool to be working with someone who is basically just known for being smart. And I wonder whether, and I wondered this when I first called you and we talked on the phone and I pitched you out the idea, I wonder, is that a lot of pressure to go through life with the, hey, I'm smart?
Oh, sure. It's a very unusual niche because, you can get famous in America now for anything, You can be on TV for 10 minutes and be good at something or be terrible at something and, you're briefly famous. But yeah, it's not easy to be famous just for being smart, and it is a lot of pressure because I sort of feel like people are very intimidated to meet someone who is on Jeopardy for weeks and weeks, and I don't feel like a very intimidating person. I mean, with no sense of false modesty, I sort of feel like answering trivia questions. It's more of a party trick, Like I don't feel like I'm the guy who's gonna I'm not some Stephen Hawking-like genius. I'm not going to invent the electric car or come up with some unified theory of gravitation or something just because I was on Jeopardy. You know what I mean?
Well, but that's the interesting thing. And really, I think in American game shows and in American culture, short of inventing something, short of being a Steve Jobs or a computer programmer or something like that, really being a Jeopardy champion is our closest thing to elevating you to kind of mythological status as far as intelligence. We don't really have, I guess you go to MIT, but then you kind of have to do something with it. And you're one of those really rare people who you were elevated to this because of your ability to answer a ridiculous amount of trivia, 2,642 questions that he answered in a row, Beth.
That is insane.
And as I was reading that, Ken, I realized that I don't actually know that many things individually.
Oh, me neither. There's a few repeats in there, so I think my number might be a little lower too.
Oh, they're repeats.
Are there repeat questions in Jeopardy?
Maybe just like phrased
Sometimes.
Differently?
Yeah, I remember being on for so long that I started to hear, like it doesn't cycle every 3 months, but I started to hear facts that I only knew because of the last time they came up, like while I was standing at the same podium. Like there was a question about some country singer who'd been to jail, and I said Johnny Cash, and it turned out to be wrong. It was Merle Haggard. And then a few months later, it came up again, and I was like, oh, who is Merle Haggard? So
That's
if you can arrange to be on Jeopardy for like 6 months, it really helps.
What's interesting is on Price is Right, we fight this a lot because while there are a lot of consumer goods in the United States, we don't like to repeat them over and over again and use the same prices over and over again. We do, but my thing is, hey, Jeopardy doesn't really repeat the questions. So now, basically,
kind of
you've gutted my entire argument as to why we should have different prices on Price is Right.
Well, they don't repeat the exact question. The same sort of facts or names might come up in a slightly different context.
I honestly, like on all the trivia apps on my phone, it's kind of the same thing. Like the same just topics will like resurface. They'll just be like in a slightly different format. And that's how I have to connect to, Ken Jennings and Jeopardy is me and my iPhone app.
I was saying especially how I studied for Jeopardy. I started to realize there's stuff that comes up over and over, presidents and world capitals. And I sort of realized, if you memorize a few of these lists, you can get, measurably better.
But you must have something in your brain that makes you able to memorize those lists, because maybe the thing I would be good at is identifying the repeats and what things to study, because that's where I'm good at putting systems together and that kind of thing and seeing patterns. But then I would never be able to remember the list. So I could study all I wanted. And I'd always heard that it was a bad idea to study for Jeopardy because there's really no point to it. But you saw a lot of benefit.
I mean, the questions really can be about anything. So it's not like I would recommend somebody who knows nothing just, sit down and start reading the encyclopedia and then go on Jeopardy. You can't do that. I mean,
cancel that.
But if you're sort of a reasonably curious person who, has been paying attention to the world, his or her whole life, and you want to get a little bit better at a few discrete things, there are lists you should look at, for a few weeks before you go on the show.
Right, but the amount of different types of information that you know and then are able to access, because what everyone says, and I've done a lot of studying because I have kids, and so I'm really interested in how the human brain develops and then how to supercharge it and get it to work at its best, because my ability to recall things is either perfect, and that's about 10% of the time, or it's like I was never there. And I'm dyslexic, and that plays into that, how your mind works.
It's kind of a good thing when you're his assistant to know that 90% of the time he won't quite remember what happened, because then you can kind of just like fudge whatever you messed up.
Yeah, Beth used to be my assistant, and she would literally just look at me and be like, "No, you never said that." And I'd be like, "Yeah, no, I think I did."
No,
like, nope.
you didn't.
Yep,
nope.
But I think, there are the information, from what I understand in studying the brain, is there, but the people like you who are curious, who have read it, have hung it on something that matters to them, so it's staying in there, and then you're amazing at accessing it. Is that something that you've always been good at, even in school?
Yeah, I feel like it's a filing system. For some reason, there's some quirk of the way I think where the stuff just associates neatly. I hear something and I think, oh, that's interesting. And it gets filed away with, if it's something about elephants, it gets filed away with other things about elephants. And then, when needed, when Alex Trebek is staring at you with that cold Canadian glare, you have the ability to sort of distract it in those 5 seconds, whereas other people would be like, give me a second. It's the one guy, he's got the shirt, the speed is a very hard part of Jeopardy. I agree.
I have a question. After 30 days of being on Jeopardy, I'm sure at first it was crazy and your whole entire day was devoted to being on Jeopardy and you'd study and all that kind of stuff. Once you got to day 40 or 50, where you're just yeah, Jeopardy.
I remember Trebek being very angry because my wife was in the studio audience, but she was doing crosswords. She was visibly bored.
Just here again at Jeopardy.
The opposite of come on down. Yeah, she was looking at her watch. It was still a lot of fun for me. It did sort of turn from a one-day sort of roller coaster ride, which is what being on a game show is for most people, into sort of a summer job, which is weird. I'd have to keep coming back and saying hi to all the gang. Hey Joe, hey Bill, how's it hanging?
Just here to whoop some ass on Jeopardy.
Did you get better at it? Were you a better Jeopardy player at the end of your run than you were at the beginning? Did you start to not only just seeing repeat questions or similar areas that you learned about while playing the game, but just your ability to get to your file system and access things? Did your mind get stronger at it as you went on?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge home field advantage on Jeopardy for the returning player, who's probably been there for a few days and is sort of calmed down about the stage fright and figured out the timing on the buzzer. And and when you're in a much calm and every day, so I'd be there for weeks and weeks, just getting better and better and calmer, so your brain's working better because you feel less pressure. And they just keep bringing in trucks full of fresh meat, These poor people who have dreamed of being on Jeopardy their whole lives, and then they have to go play me and go home an hour later. So I do still feel some survivor's guilt over what I did to all those people.
Yeah, that is where you and I are different. But because if I was that smart, I would just be keep bringing in the meat. But my luck, I would have gotten on Jeopardy. Well, I would have never gotten on Jeopardy. Let's be square. But if I had gotten on Jeopardy, it would have been Ken Jennings' first show. Right. Jennings trounces Mike Richards in the first show he's on. It's the biggest
crawl out of the studio.
Yeah, he didn't even get his hand on the buzzer.
Where is this buzzer?
So how would you do on, I executive produce Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal. How are you with prices? How would you do if we had you on Price is Right?
Oh, you know what? So I love all game shows. I'm not just, Jeopardy, Ivory Tower nerd. When I was a kid, I remember just crying on my first day of kindergarten because I was going to miss Hollywood Squares and, Family Feud and all my shows. So I have loved Price is Right my whole life. And, I think it is the kind of thing where I'd have to, I don't think I'd be a great player because the people there, they know the games, they know which games they're going to be good at. They have a theory about where to put the Plinko chip, and they don't need the second putt on hole in two. And, I'm definitely not one of these people, but I feel like if I watched the show for, a few weeks and sort of, got some of the pricing down in my head, I feel like I'd be okay.
I bet Ken would be really good at the big house game.
Pay the Rent?
Yeah.
We have a game called Pay the Rent, which is a $100,000 game
It's tricky.
So it is hard to play. But because I actually think you would do well on Price is Right. I agree. I think you'd have to study the patterns of what things cost and the one bids.
Right.
But I think your ability your understanding of game theory, you'd be able to sit and kind of pick each one apart.
Yeah.
For instance, we have a game called Cover Up, which is a car game, and you cover up the wrong numbers with the correct number in the price of the car, and in each one you have to get at least one right to keep going. So you would always, as someone who really plays games, the first number in the price of the car is usually a given. So you always get that one, and usually the second number is pretty close to a given. So if you were a really savvy game player, you would always tank the second number purposely, because then as it goes down, it's harder to know the last three numbers. But the first two numbers you can. Yeah. So, Ken, I think that's where you would be good at Price is Right.
Theory.
You would slow down time. You would not get riled by the noise.
Oh,
I mean, because it is
so
definitely.
loud.
Have you ever been to a taping?
I've always wanted to go. I've never been.
All right. When you're in town next time, you have to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very similar to Jeopardy.
It's
in that it is nothing like Jeopardy. We always joke that on Let's Make a Deal, there was an interview with the guy who directs Jeopardy, and he talks about that it's a difficult show to direct because sometimes people will jump in the order of questions, down to the harder. Bigger number, bigger money question, and so he's got to jump down to the lower screen
real quick,
and then we'll be at Let's Make a Deal where Wayne has just decided to do an improv song while running around the set, and it's a lot like Jeopardy. It's a very similar. It's very staid. It's very quiet and very refined.
Move the camera.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. No, the whole place is coming apart on a regular basis. But definitely, you got to come to Price because it is like no other show.
Your wife would not be bored.
I waited months to see Trebek do like an impromptu dance number and nothing.
Nothing.
I was so disappointed.
Huh. He seems like such a. Now is he? I don't want to say that he's dull, but he's mellow, which is his job on the show. Is he that mellow off camera? I've never met him.
Yeah, he is. I think he's a lot goofier than people expect, though, because I think they think this guy's going to be a stiff, I mean, for one thing, I think a lot of people are like, can you believe this know-it-all? Like, they sort of feel like he's a sort of a dick, because, his whole job is to tell people they're wrong,
Well, I think what people take issue with Trebek is that he pretends that he knows the answers, and they're written for him.
Right.
So I hosted the Pyramid, okay? And when we would get to the final round, I knew the answers, and then had time in my dressing room to come up with other clues so that I looked really smart. And the production was hey, we want you to look smart when you get to the winner's circle to try to get them the answer so that the game doesn't look too hard. But you can't step up there and go, how did you not get this? And I think that's his Canadian disdain.
You're right. He
totally
is like, you idiot.
I think he knows not to make the show about him. He's got like 61 questions to read. He's got to sort of keep it rolling. I mean, I'm with you. I sort of got annoyed when Dick Clark would come over to the chair and sort of lean over and be like, what if I had said, and then some obviously perfect thing that, he'd thought of backstage.
Well, I did do that exact same thing, but I did it in a way that it didn't look like I was being smarter than them. And,
nice.
To be honest, because I worked for Dick Clark, he was that good at that game. Like, that wasn't, trust me, he never looked at those other than when the show was taping. Because, A, he didn't have the time, and B, he just didn't care that much. But he was just that good at words. I mean, he was just that verbally so in touch with what would make people get the correct answer that when he did that, it was all him. No one was helping him. Because, the way they shot that show was they took a 15-minute break between shows. They literally would let him go.
10 a day. Is that true? Did they do 10 a day?
Yeah. He just,
That's
I think
crazy.
it was, at one point, I think it was 10 a day. It was 2 different crews. So they would bring in, and he would fly on the red eye from L.A. to New York, because it's shot in New York, or a lot of them did. And so he would fly on the red eye, get there in the morning, walk into the set, they would shoot, and then they'd go through one crew, and then they'd refresh the crew, and Dick would just keep going, and they would just literally put a chair on the side for him. He would take a 15-minute nap. They would change his jacket or his tie. He would stand back up and go, "Welcome to Pyramid."
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
crazy.
And what I love about Dick was, he made a ton of money hosting the Pyramid. That he didn't want to interrupt his work schedule with doing the Pyramid, so he had to fly on red eyes on Friday night and Sunday night, and they had to shoot it all in 2 days. I mean, he was an animal.
Yeah.
So I know he wasn't reviewing him like a nerd, like I was, trying to go, man, I don't want to come across looking stupid, so I'm going to study what are good clues and practice at it. But yeah, he was really that good. When you were talking about that you were a game show fan, what's the game show? I know Jeopardy was always your dream as a kid. Is there another one that you have dreamed about doing?
There was when my sister was born. She was like the third sibling, and I was so excited that there were now 5 of us, and we could go on The Feud. Like, finally, we had the perfect number to go on Family Feud. I guess my sister was a newborn, so she wouldn't have been very good. But that never actually happened. I've always dreamed of going on Family Feud.
What do you think of the current version now?
I like it. I actually like Steve Harvey quite a bit. I mean, it's actually a lot more. I mean, they've more digital and stuff now, but it's a lot less changed than a lot of the other shows and properties that have survived, from that age. I'm still a fan.
Yeah, I think he's doing a really nice job with it. I mean, the resurgence of that show has been epic in the ratings, and it's a Fremantle show, so we are always very supportive of anything that makes that company money, because that's how we get paid. What did you think of Million Second Quiz over the summer?
I sort of felt like it. Oh, you know what? I sort of did not finish my thought about people thinking Trebek is a dick, so let me just say, in my experience, he's like the nicest guy and like super fun and goofy off stage, but when the camera's on, he's just serious about the game. Million Second Quiz. I sort of was confused by the format. I heard it was just logistically a very, very challenging show to pull off, and they were trying to do too many things maybe, and that's why the show in primetime was not what was going on the rest of the time. I actually got asked to go on. I got a phone call from NBC, and then an hour later I was quickly disinvited. So I don't really know what happened, but I missed out on my big chance at the Hourglass.
Why?
Did they give you a reason?
I'm not sure. They said they actually sent me a plane ticket and then called me back and said, "Oh, we screwed up. The network says we can't fly trivia champions out. So if you just want to come out, you can hang out in, waiting group B." It was some total FEMA-like, Katrina-like nightmare, but I was able to.
Oh my God.
I could have skipped to like waiting group 8 or something, which is the nice part of the Superdome or whatever. But yeah, at that point I thought, I don't think I'm going to be on this Million Second.
Would you have done it if they had left the ticket up for you and all that stuff? Would you have gone to it?
Oh yeah, I had told them, sure, I'm in. I love game shows. I'm even sort of a weird one like this, I want to give it a shot. It had been 10 years since Jeopardy. I'm thinking, I want to see if I still got it.
That's crazy.
Do you worry about, and maybe this is a weird question because it sounds like you don't take any of this that seriously, which is probably a good, healthy thing. But do you worry about when you've gone back to Jeopardy, whether it was going against Watson or other times, or going on Million Second Quiz or appearing on other shows, do you worry about that if, let's say you lost to a me, because they asked me, like Slumdog Millionaire, they asked me the 5 questions that I know the answers to, and that, inexplicably Ken Jennings didn't know the answer, and now Mike Richards is the smartest person in the world. Do you worry about hurting your legacy going on some of these other shows?
Oh, maybe I should. I'm a competitive guy, and I think, wow, I have a lot to lose here every time I go on a game show, because if I win, people will be like, oh, great, that guy again. And if I lose, they'll be like, whoa, I thought he was good. So I do think about that, and I don't want to be like, I guess the sports analogy would be like some guy like Ricky Henderson that just played too long and, maybe it hurt his Hall of Fame chances or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Because your business now is set up around, you're a great public speaker, motivational. I think yesterday you spoke at a college in Washington State. You've written, are you at 4 books now? And 2 more coming?
4 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a series of kids' books on the way. So I have this little cottage industry about being an ex-game show champion, which is sort of dumb, but I guess it's good work if you can get it.
I actually think it's not about being – I think you've transcended the game, because actually when you come to mind, to me, I mean – I guess Jeopardy comes to mind, but smart comes to mind.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think to me, your cottage industry is for whatever reason, you've cultivated it in a way where it doesn't feel like that.
Kind of like a pop culture smart almost.
Yeah.
Well,
like
it's like how you were saying, like, sorry, you were saying, Jeopardy is sort of the only Super Bowl of smartness, we have. Like, what are the other ways to get famous for being smart? There really are no Einsteins anymore, so we have to settle for Jeopardy champions, which is,
You could have a docu-soap on E. That would be good.
That's a good idea, yeah, because those guys seem really smart.
The Janking Around with Jennings.
Oh, jeez.
So, Ken, I'm afraid to ask you this next question, and that is, we were talking about it before we got you on, is trivia the mark of intelligence?
Ooh,
so is
yes.
being good at trivia the mark of intelligence?
Having talked to a lot of people who are, very
no.
good at that kind of question answering thing,
Please
so
say
this
no.
is not just anecdotally to me. I sort of feel like it's not the same as intelligence, but for whatever reason, it correlates very highly with it, Like, the people who are good at Jeopardy do tend to be just good conversationalists, smart people. They're up on current events, they have ideas. Maybe not all of them are, the big successes in their fields or whatever, but these are smart people. So
have you
it's
seen
not
a
the
correlation
same as
with,
being smart,
are
but
people
it
good
must use
students?
the same muscles.
Are people good students who are good at answering trivia?
Oh yeah, like almost 100%. I mean, there may be some degree to which some of these people are underachievers enough that they, underperform in school. But typically they're the kind of people who, they're the annoying people who can ace a test without ever having looked at the material, until the night before or something, just because
Wow.
Yeah,
that's the trick of how their brain works.
That's where if I'd just been a little larger, I would have beaten those kids up. But unfortunately, I would have been like, hey, don't do that. And then they would have beaten me up and
Yeah.
then still gotten an A. Would you, and I think I know the answer to this, not being good at trivia, is there an inverse correlation to your intelligence? Please say no.
No.
Please say no.
I mean, it must be a subset of smart people,
We're all winners.
Like all trivia people are smart, but many, many super smart people are lousy at trivia. Just because, and I think a lot of it's just like some form of math anxiety where they don't like the performance aspect of, having to work their brain under pressure. But I think some people are pretty good. I actually met the writer Michael Chabon the other day, and he told me a story. He told me he was in the contestant pool for Jeopardy when he got sold his first novel, and they were calling him to be on the show, and he was like, no, I got a novel to finish. So I think some smart people you wouldn't suspect are also, closet Jeopardy nerds.
Now, is it genetic? I know you have two kids, right?
I do.
And how old are they?
10 and 6.
And can you tell, are they retaining and filing information like you do?
I think so. I think there is it's hard to say whether it's, genetic or just the culture of the family, like my dad was a lawyer, my mom was an elementary school librarian, and I don't know if I just got good genes from them or if, I grew up reading a lot because I was around nerdy parents. I don't know. But yeah, my son is obsessed with Jeopardy. He wants to watch it every night. And I'm like, every night at 7:30, it's like, no, not Jeopardy, because as much as I love it, I get very stressed now when I hear the music or I hear Trebek's voice. Like the adrenaline spikes, like I'm back in Nam or something,
Post-traumatic stress.
I love that Trebek stresses you out so much. It's fantastic.
It's something about the voice, It reminds me of being in the octagon, and I get very stressed.
Would you beat him at Jeopardy? Let's say I hosted
probably.
it. You'd beat him, right?
People ask him this all the time, and I think his answer is right, which is that he's a smart, well-read guy, but he sort of feels like Jeopardy is a young person's game. He says, in my prime, I could have hung with these guys, but the guy's in his 70s now, and I think he knows that.
That is amazing.
I think it's true that you don't get quicker with time.
So so who would win in a fist fight?
In a fist
Well, he's
fight.
70.
Maybe Alex. I feel like he knows all these sort of like Canadian woodsman's tricks from his scrappy immigrant childhood that I know nothing about.
You know those scrappy immigrant Canadians. They had
to struggle.
They had to fight for everything except for healthcare.
Now, that good point. Ooh, I like it. Good point. Did you? And one last thing. Because you write a lot of trivia questions and have for a long time. Do you have a favorite trivia question that you've asked or answered?
I sort of have a favorite trivia fact. Like people used to ask me this all the time, and I'd be like, bleh, 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 you know, like I didn't have a good answer. But I'm writing a series of kids books, and I just finished the one about space. And I found out that it turns out that supernovas, exploding stars, are pretty much the only place in the universe where we think any element like heavier than carbon can form. So if there's anything heavier in the universe, it came from a supernova. And that means the gold in your watch, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, like all this stuff came from supernovas. We all have star stuff inside of us all the time, which is that's like the best thing I've ever heard.
That's so cool.
You know what I hate about that information is that now Beth's gonna be running around going, I have star bits in me.
I'm gonna think about that all day. That's great.
We all do, Beth. It's not a definitive
but
thing.
mine's are special.
That is a very cool piece of information.
Do you have an app? You should have a trivia app.
I do have a trivia app, Ken Jennings Trivia Deathmatch. It's a Mexican wrestling themed head-to-head trivia thing where you get to play against my answer. So you get to go head-to-head with me.
Oh, I'm getting it. That sounds great.
See, I don't want to. I'm for people that are good, and Jen Bisgrove loves the trivia and loves Jeopardy. I am just so bad at it that it just frustrates me.
But if you do it on the app, then you're just alone. You're not embarrassed.
Here's the thing, I don't get embarrassed because I know my abilities and I know my knots. And I know that is just, I mean, I would watch people play Trivial Pursuit, and just go, I have no idea what you're even talking about. I don't even know what that question's asking right now.
Yeah.
Now, I know what a good question is, and I know what the 4 options should be. Like, I'm good at that stuff and knowing what will be hard for people and what will trick people or what will not trick people. But, yeah. So, Beth, you have to get the app.
Oh, I'm getting the app.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's such a pleasure talking to you. I'm hoping that we are able to sell this show because it's a smart one. And I like doing smart shows, and I like that you're known not for marrying or getting engaged to Kanye West, but you're known for being smart and answering 2,600 questions in a row.
That's really awesome.
And all of the books and everything. So I'm hoping we get to keep working together. And congratulations on the 4 books so far and the 2 that are coming out. What are the 2 coming out, just so everybody can look for them?
Just a series of kids' books that's coming out in the winter. The Junior Genius Guide, sort of amazing facts books for kids.
Yeah, my 6-year-old will love that. I'll have to get him that.
Very cool.
There you go, Beth.
Thank
One of
you.
your heroes, Ken Jennings. Ken, thanks so much for being on.
I just love that one of my heroes told me that there's a star in me.
Oh, it's going to be unlivable now. Unlivable. Well, there you go, Beth.
That was our best guest since Adam Sandler.
And you mean the comedian, not the director of The Price is Right. Jen Bisgrove, we are low on time. Beth, can you do a quick, it's the Beth story ever told?
Oh, totes.
Ready?
So,
Hit the music. It's the Beth story ever told. Ever told.
There's a star in me. So you know how I just recovered over my sports injury concussion?
You mean where you were standing on the sideline of a soccer
Yeah.
game and were not paying attention and got a ball kicked into your head?
Yes. So in my play, there's a little bit of a fight scene, and I'm in it, and I get picked up, and I unfortunately was dropped the other day.
Oh, no. Now, was it a guy that
It was a 6 foot, like a guy who's like 6'3". He plays my boyfriend, and literally dropped me, fell on my head, kind of freaked out, just was like, oh my God.
Wait, were you overly dramatic in any way?
Oh, probably because I just had this concussion, and it's been crazy. And I tried to act like, oh yeah, I'm cool. But in my head, I was like, oh God, I'm like officially going brain dead. Like this is
because that's what happens. You get a concussion and you actually just go brain dead. That's an actual thing.
Are you being facetious?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the second one within like 2 months
To set up that Beth is a little bit nervous, was raised to be a little bit nervous about her well-being because your mom did drive you around town with helmets on. So you are
in drives that were over an hour.
Oh, that makes much more sense. I love that you always give that qualification to
it's not
that.
like we were going to the bank with a helmet.
No, because that would be weird.
Yeah,
but if you're driving to the beach, you should be in a helmet. No, I'm totally with you. So you are a naturally overly concerned about your health type of person.
And you know what? I'm also concerned just about my well-being in this play. It opens Saturday. Last night we had our first.
Wait, are we
dress.
going to this Jen Bisgrove?
I asked Beth to email me the details.
I didn't do
haven't
that yet. I'm
received
sorry.
anything.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
Well, how long is it up for? I'm concerned now.
Oh, 5 weeks. You got time.
I've got
You
time.
got
All right.
But we had our first dress yesterday, and it was like the first time where I was like, okay, I'm going to get back and do the fight scene. I think my head's okay, and blah, 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 blah. And I literally am so nervous for my well-being because I'm running around in like a Catwoman like pants and giant stiletto.
Wait, what? That's not the Russia I remember.
Yeah, and giant stiletto boots. Like giant, and I'm running around like chasing a child. And I just was thinking like the amount of times I have gotten hurt being like an actor. Like I hate to do that thing where it's like models are like, oh, it's hard work. But like seriously, like it is a very dangerous profession. I have like gotten hurt like so many times.
When have you ever been hurt other than this one time? Because to be, I know that that the world is a stage for you,
Yes.
and that you have star bits in you.
Yes.
But you were not acting when you got hit in the head by the soccer ball.
Yeah,
you were
no,
not
that was
in Bend
a
It Like
sports
Beckham
injury.
too. You know
I mean,
that, right?
Peter Pan was very crazy. Like
Well, that was because you were going after Peter, if you know what I'm saying.
well, we were like we had bruises all the time.
bet.
We were
But what
falling
about
all
the
the
play?
time.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh my Lord. And then I remember one time I was in a play and I fell down right in front of everyone and I got back up and was just like, whatever. And I had to sing a song. I had to sing a song and then I had to dance.
So did
okay?
you? So wait.
Yeah.
Bisgrove, get on the mic here because there is nothing we love more than a good fall.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah, we do love a good fall. So
I was wearing overalls that were shortalls. And
and she was eating with a fork.
and I slipped on a prop on the stage and totally just wiped out.
And this is in the performance.
This is in a musical. Oh yeah, full audience, like 300 people. Horrible.
I was gonna say, tens of people.
100 like there were handicapped people in the front row, so a
Okay.
bunch of old people in wheelchairs.
Okay, sure.
And I just was like, whatever. I got back up and I literally fell right before I had to sing a song. And so I get up.
And did the crowd make the?
Yeah, they totally did. It was bad. It was a bad fall.
Now, what did anyone laugh? What if?
Well, I'll tell
was there
you,
a Bisgrove and a Mike Richards there?
There was an old man in a wheelchair, and he laughed through my whole song. He laughed through my whole
I
song,
love that guy.
and I had to sing this and do a little
And he
stupid
was in the
dance
front row?
alone. He was in the front row, and he just kept going like, and I looked, and I kept being just like, that fucker. Like, I'm just going to get through this. Like,
Language.
whatever. I go off stage after singing a whole entire song and dancing. Blood everywhere. I had no idea that I was like kicking my legs and there was just like blood coming off my knee, like everywhere. My whole entire leg was covered in blood. Like it was the most morbid dance I have ever done. It's one of my worst memories as an actor person. It's so bad. Just like bled out on stage while singing and dancing alone
God,
with old people laughing at me. So I'm just like praying to God that I don't do the same exact thing in this play because the worst thing is that I could fall, bleed, and still have a Russian accent.
You know, if you're gonna do it, will you wait till we come?
Yes, I will.
Because we will stand up and say bravo.
So anyway, The Pain and the Itch starting this Saturday at the Zephyr Theater.
Is that really the name of it? Have you
Yes,
thought
it
about
is.
changing the name?
The Pain and the Itch?
It sounds
Not
like
my
something
job.
that I need an ointment for.
It's an uncomfortable play.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like, we'll get into it next time. Hey, a great booking, Ken Jennings.
Awesome.
Unbelievable.
Highlight.
Next week, more great stuff because we're going to talk about Halloween.
Cool.
And it's going to be more even great podcasting.
This podcast.
Try to not get hurt between now and then.
I won't.
That was random.